County Executive Pittman's virtual press conference. This morning, the County Executive will share updates on the county's COVID response efforts. I will take questions after those updates. As a reminder, please put your name and media affiliation in the chat, and I'll call on folks for questions in that order. As well, please keep your microphone and camera off unless you're called on to ask a question. With that, Mr. County Executive.
Thank you, Jeff, and thank you for joining us this morning. Two things of note today. One is that I just was looking at our dashboard of COVID metrics in the county, and while the good news is that case rates are dropping and even hospitalizations are starting to reflect the drop, and we expect the Omicron surge to be on the downturn very soon. The death rate has not. The death rate has surged in our county over the last 7 days. 39 of our residents have died of COVID-19. That's more than 5 every single day. So I first want to express my sorrow and condolences to the families of those who have died. That brings us to 891, I believe, losses to COVID in our county since the beginning of the pandemic. So we will undoubtedly pass 900 this week. That all in the context of a filing by Charles Muskin, attorney representing 2 county business owners, a lawsuit that was filed at the request of some politicians asking for a temporary restraining order on our mask mandate. I don't believe that any judge is likely to grant a temporary restraining order under these conditions, given the fact that our health officer made this public health order using the same state law that he has used twice before in this pandemic, in both April and July, and the same state law that gives all local jurisdictions the authority to use public health orders to protect the public health. My message to the residents of Anne Arundel County is we're better than this. We do care about one another. I know that you care about your neighbors. And while the mask mandate is a small act on behalf of our health department, requested by our hospitals, requested by most of our residents who commented to the county council, requested by most of the business owners that I surveyed on this very topic, and it will end. It's temporary. Please, 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 if you know anyone who is not vaccinated against COVID-19, plead with them to do so. The next variant that comes, we must be ready for. We must be vaccinated against. And with these kinds of numbers of deaths in our county, it's my responsibility and it's your responsibility to do anything that we can to prevent them. So I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Kalyana.
Thank you, County Executive, and I too want to note that it is a somber moment to know that there were 39 people who lost their lives last week to COVID, which is the single largest total of any week since the pandemic began. And I think it highlights the severity of the moment that we're in. Our hospitalizations are still under a crisis standard of care. The hospitalizations look to be plateauing around 230 right now. So that's a glimmer of a good sign, but their occupancy continues to remain high and they still are under pressure. I think more promising, we're starting to see our case rate go down. That's exactly what we wanted to see with a mask mandate. It's exactly what is needed to decrease the spread and give our hospitals a chance to catch up to provide care to folks who need it. As County Executive mentioned, please get vaccinated. the vast majority of those who were hospitalized were either not vaccinated or vaccinated but not boosted. It is important to get your booster, even if you've been vaccinated. So please do that. Please wear your mask in public settings. We will get through this, and we have to do it together. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to you, Jeff.
All right, thank you, Dr. Kalyana. So as a reminder, we'll be taking questions in the chat. Please put your name and media affiliation in the chat, and I'll call on folks for questions in that order. Rob Lang, WBAL.
Here. All right. And you can all hear me, I assume, right?
Yep.
Okay. With respect to the mask order, what's the likelihood as we sit here on January 18th that you might try to extend it beyond January 31st?
Given the direction of the numbers that we're seeing, as long as we're seeing case rates going down and hospitalizations leveling or coming down, don't anticipate extending that order beyond January 31st. That was what we were keying it to.
Anything to add, Mr. County Executive?
No, I think that it's important, however, to defend the right of our health officer and all the other health officers across the state of Maryland to protect public health by winning this case. I don't know whether the plaintiffs will drop the case or not if they don't get the TRO. But if they pursue it, it's going to be very important for the state of Maryland to protect this law.
Thank you.
Kate Amara, WBAL.
Hi, thanks. I had a question about the lawsuit. I'm wondering if the county legal department is preparing to appear in court, even though it's almost the end of January, if you're getting ready to argue your side of the case, and if you've reached out directly to these two businesses that you said were involved in it to see if you could talk to them one-on-one. And I have another question about testing, but I can wait in case others have questions.
I've not reached out to the owners of the businesses. It was reported earlier that the initial request came from some politicians to the attorney, and so I assume they found plaintiffs to be able to file their case. But what was the first part of the question?
I was wondering if the county legal department is preparing to go to court and argue this, since it may happen quickly, given the timing.
Yeah, in fact, it's going to be the state of Maryland that's going to defend Dr. Kalyana Raman. The law that they're challenging the use of is a state law, and so it'll be up to the Attorney General's office to do that. But of course, our Office of Law has been in conversations with them. And while I am named in the case, they will be there to make the point that this was not done under my authority. It was done under state law, the health officer's authority. And we expect there to be a decision on the temporary restraining order today. We're not sure, but we expect today, and the attorneys will be meeting with the judge to discuss it.
Thank you. That was quite helpful. And I don't see anyone else in the chat with a question. So I have a question for Dr. K about testing. I'm wondering, have you tracked a drop in ER visits since the state opened the state-run test site at Luminous Health and Arundel Medical Center? And can you explain for our viewers what COVID tests can and what they can't tell you about being contagious?
So in terms of the testing, we've seen generally a decrease in the testing volume, both at in conversations with our partners in the medical center and also at health department testing sites. We've seen decreased volume. In terms of emergency room volume, our hospital partners tell us that they're seeing that volume is decreasing as well. Certainly a good thing. And then in terms of testing, I think the important thing to recognize is that while you're using a given test, the rapid tests are great at giving you a result quickly, but they tend to be most accurate when people have the highest level of contagiousness. They're not perfect, and it should be understood that they're not going to catch every case. PCR, more accurate, but it takes anywhere from 1 to 3 days to come back, and in that time, people can certainly go about their business, spread it, and that's a key concern. It's much more useful in diagnosing people and understanding what treatment they may need. So it's important to keep in mind why you're using a particular test.
Thank you, Dr. Kalyanaraman. Reminder, name and media affiliation in the chat if you have any other questions. I'm not seeing any right now, so I'll make one last call for questions. All right. Thank you very much, everyone. See you next week.